Hello, this is Pretty Guardian, and today I am going to be giving you my review of the book, the Dungeonmeister Cookbook. This is 75 RPG inspired recipes to level up your game night by Jeff Aldrich and John Taylor. I got this book about a year ago from Maya out in Beaverton, and it has been just full of all kinds of really really recipes. The first one that I made were these healing word cupcakes that featured lavender and honey as the key star ingredients in there, and those were super delicious. I took them to work, got lots of compliments from my coworkers and office clients, and then my personal favorite that I made is the Dwarven Battle Pasta. And this one, you take ravioli from the stores and basically coat it with this delicious crunchy bread crust and then fry it up, and it was super delicious. So there's lots of fun recipes in here. For today's video, I actually wanted to invite you into my kitchen and make one of the recipes here together. So this recipe is for picked pockets, which is just this really nice doughy bread crust with a nice meat filling in there. It's meat and cabbage, ground beef, cooked up with some spices. So to get started with any cookbook, I always recommend going through and reviewing the recipe first so that you have an idea of the different steps that are involved with making it. So for example, with this one, there's kind of two different components to it. First, we have to make our dough, and then we also have to make our meat filling. Off camera, I've already prepared most of my ingredients for this video, just to kind of keep things moving along. You're going to need 1 cup room temperature whole milk, 1/4 cup granulated sugar, 1 packet active dry yeast, 4 cups unbleached all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons melted salted butter, 1 large egg beaten, 3/4 teaspoon salt. And then for the filling, we need 1/2 pound of ground beef, 1/2 of a large yellow onion peeled and diced, 1/4 teaspoon ground cumin, 3 cups shredded cabbage, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon ground black pepper, and 1 tablespoon of whole milk. To get started making our pockets, we're going to take a large bowl, mix the milk and sugar until the sugar is dissolved, and then add in your yeast mixture. We're going to let this bloom for about 5 to 10 minutes until the yeast softens and foam starts to appear on the surface. Then we're going to mix in our 2 cups of flour, add the butter, the egg, the salt, and then whisk to incorporate. I don't own a whisk. I know that I should, but bear with me as I stir this all together. We're going to stir in that remaining 2 cups of flour, 1/4 cup at a time until the mixture forms into a dough. And then on a floured work surface, we're going to start kneading that dough for 10 to 15 minutes. I just wanted to give you a heads up that my dough came out a little bit drier than I was expecting. So I actually got my hands a little bit wet and then went back in and kind of kept working it. It did mention that you need to have a tacky texture to the dough. So that's kind of what I was aiming for with it. I think that 10 to 15 minutes of kneading is plenty. I think 10 minutes is probably plenty. If you do a lot more than that, I think we're just going to overwork the dough. Then shape that dough into a ball, tucking it in on itself toward the bottom so you get a nice rounded top, and then loosely cover it with a plastic wrap or damp towel. We're going to set that aside for about an hour so that it can proof. Meanwhile, we're going to jump over and get our filling going. So for this one, we're going to take our ground beef and just brown it up for about 5 to 7 minutes over medium heat. Drain the grease from the pan. What I usually do is I'll take a paper towel and just kind of soak up some of the excess grease. I did leave some in there because I figured we're going to be adding a lot of cabbage, and I want that cabbage to take on some of that nice meaty flavor. After draining the grease, we're going to add in our onion and then cook that for about 3 minutes until the onion starts turning a nice translucent color. Add in the cabbage and cook for an additional 7 to 10 minutes until the cabbage is tender. At this point, you can remove from the heat and season it with salt and pepper. So when I was looking at this, I just thought if all we season it with is salt and pepper, pepper. That's a lot of cabbage, and I'm not in this life to be eating unseasoned cabbage. So I added some Tony Chachere's, a little bit of lemon pepper. I like a little lemon citrus in there because I think the acidity really brightens a lot of the other flavors. We're going to add in our cumin and also garlic powder. After letting our dough proof for a little bit, I took it and then divided it out into 8 sections and rolled up these nice little balls and then flattened them into 4-inch circles, maybe just a little bit more than that. And then we can take 2 tablespoons of our ground beef mixture, add that in, and then bring the edges of the dough up and kind of pinch them together and create a nice little bun with our meat filling. Place the pickpockets on a greased baking sheet and then cover with plastic wrap or a towel to rise for about 30 to 45 minutes. They say that it's going to get up to 150% of the original size. I didn't get that kind of fluffy goodness out of mine, but the end product did turn out really lovely. Brush each of the picked pockets lightly with milk and then bake 20 to 25 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove from oven and cool on a wire rack 15 minutes before serving. And voila, we have our nice little pickpocket bun. It is a beautiful golden brown sort of color. It's a nice, flaky, delicious snack. So it turned out pretty good. I will say I think that it was a little bit more bland than I would have liked. Even with the seasoning that I added, I realized you could really go all the way out. Maybe add a couple tablespoons of tomato paste or some other flavors that you think would really complement what's going in as your filling. For the book in general, there are a lot of really good recipes in there. I had a lot of fun making some of the different stuff that's in the book. One thing I will point out is that I feel like this book is really geared towards beginners or maybe like college guys. It really is something for people who are just like looking to get some cool snacks, something interesting to take with you to game night when you're going out there to play D&D. And one of the reasons I say that I think that this is geared more towards those beginners is there are a lot of recipes that use a lot of pre-made ingredients. For example, the Dwarven Battle Pasta, which for me was kind of a creative way to enjoy the ravioli. So I really liked that recipe, but it did call for ravioli that's completely pre-made, and a lot of the recipes in this book are like that. And then the ones like what I made with the picked pockets where you do have to make up the dough and things separately. A lot of these recipes seem like they probably could have been workshopped a little bit better. Things kind of explained a little bit more in different areas. And the reason I say that is because like my dough turned out dry and there's just kind of like little things with the recipe where I was kind of like, was this how it was supposed to be? There's a lot of interesting pictures, a lot of like colorful illustrations, not necessarily even of the food, but of like D&D and RPG related stuff. I personally wish that there had been more pictures of the food. I think that in any good cookbook, you always want to see what it's going to look like, because if you've never made that recipe before, how would you ever know how to do it? The book is in a really nice hardback, so I think it would look great on a coffee table or on like a gaming shelf or something like that. For me as a cookbook, I really like when they have the wire bindings so that you can keep it open while you're reviewing the recipes. Something that I ended up doing with some of the stuff that I made was taking a picture of the recipe and then working from my phone rather than working from the book. And I think that that's kind of a detractor, maybe not necessarily for like the authors and stuff, but just as a cookbook, that's something that I do look for. So for these reasons, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. For 20 bucks, I think it's a great buy though, especially if you love RPGs and you love to cook. So thank you so much for watching along today. Please let me know if you liked this cooking video, because if you did, I would love to make more of them in the future. Jump down into the comments section and let me know what your favorite snacks are for D&D game night. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.